work on this music part. Eventually, I'm going to get this right. But I do have the intro.
I think you're doing great.
You know, for Mercury retrograde and eclipses and Venus and Mercury retrograde, you know, we're doing just fine.
Yeah, we're chilling. Sorry, I had someone like, I can't get in. The live isn't working. I'm like, it's literally going live right now. Like, try it now.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We were gossiping.
You're like, whoa, it's 8.
We'll be live when we're ready. Well, welcome. I'm super excited about this one, Gemini 3rd house. I need to pull up my charts. I dropped off my computer today at Apple, and it's their fault, and it's under warranty. So I'm like, okay, this is actually very good. So I'm working from my old laptop now, and I think we're making this work.
Hopefully, okay, let's see if she's able to get in. Give me 1 second. Let me try.
Yeah, you're good.
She says she's trying to get in and she cannot.
It's on a YouTube, so there's no getting in. It's just there. It's just we're just live on YouTube.
But when I go to the Facebook, I guess it goes to YouTube. But
yeah, the YouTube's probably the best way, but you could do it on Facebook too. Woo! And now I'm looking at the today's current planets, and it's literally fire, 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 fire. Sun in Aries. We're in the 2nd day of Aries season. Moon in Sagittarius, Mercury in Aries, Venus in Aries, and then Mercury and Venus both in retrograde. Mars in Cancer. This is like big fucking energy.
And I am the sleepiest I've ever been.
Oh my God. All I want to do is sleep. And I'm like, okay, how many hours can I get without until it's like crazy? I'm just blaming it on flying and time zone changes.
Well, all the energy, if you think about it, all of the energy, all the fire energy is great for like amping you up, but also like if you, depending on your placements, it can also drain you. And so, I mean, mine's not because of that. I had a toddler that was up all night last night. That's why my energy is a little lower today, guys. So please bear with me. I will be as excited as I can because I love Geminis. I will, spark up a little. Just got to give me a minute.
Yeah, I'm on a brown liquor and vape situation, so that's where my mental state is. And I feel like that's a perfect amount of chaotic for Gemini.
Yeah. All the Geminis watching, they'll totally get it. So they're like, yes.
Yeah, I love a Gemini. I've dated quite a few Geminis. For me to date a Gemini man, I'm like, love it. It's fun. It's different. It's unique. So
it's like
always something interesting to talk about.
Yes. And you never really know which side you're going to get. It's kind of like, who are we going to be today?
So freaking true.
And I think that Gemini women, growing up, my best friend was a Gemini, and like watching her go from like, oh my gosh, hi, very sweet Gemini energy to like, you piss her off and she's like, I will fucking cut you. I'm like, and it was like real, like she wasn't playing, like she was like, literally will cut you. So it's that kind of energy that really entices me because I like, treading that, like I might die, I might.
I think you and I are both like that.
We like an adventure. We like a little risk. I'm a Sagittarius rising. Huh?
I'd be bored if there wasn't a little scary in there.
Yeah. Well, you have a Leo rising and I have a Sagittarius rising. So there's a little piece of our souls that like a little excitement, a little danger. And Geminis, they're that, they're exciting.
Yeah, that's for sure. I'm trying to see who else has got stuff in their chart. You can go ahead and start because I'm going to go ahead and start stalking everyone's.
Yes, no, I love it. Well, and I was going to look at yours too, where Gemini is in yours. And I know that you may not have a ton of Gemini, but I do know that you have, when we get to the 3rd house, because we've talked about siblings and how you have siblings and how yours is just a little rocky, but your siblings don't watch this, right?
No, okay. I would, if today was the day they started, I would be surprised.
No, and not that anything is bad with it. There are just challenges there, and it's obvious in your 3rd house, and we'll go over that, and I'll keep that light because I definitely don't want to offend any siblings, but sometimes siblings can be assholes. I'm a sibling, and I can't tell you, I don't think my sister's ever punched me in the face, but I have for sure punched her in the face.
Amazing.
So, I'm of the two, and she's an Aries.
Oh wow!
Libra polarities, man. And imagine that upbringing.
Wow, yeah. And you were the one to do the punching. That's so
Oh yeah.
fascinating.
I
Wow.
used to
Well, they
call
just know how
her.
to trigger us.
Yeah, but no, she's an Aries with a Pisces moon. So I used to call her like a crybaby warrior. Like she's very fierce. She's very like in your face, but then like very emotional and will cry. So yeah, I'm just gonna pull up your chart here and look. I don't have any Gemini in my chart.
I don't have
Surprising.
any Gemini, just third house. My partner has a Gemini moon, which is just an adventure.
That is fun.
Hmm.
And given the right equation to your chart, that's really cool. Like I was researching, who was it? It was Barack Obama. So he's a Leo with a Gemini moon. And I initially, because I didn't have the birth time, they initially were like, is he a Taurus moon or is he a Gemini moon? I'm like, oh, he is for sure a Gemini or for sure a Taurus moon because he has that chill, calm. Like I could listen to him talk and just be like, man, like I don't know, I felt really safe and the way that he captivates you. So I was like, for sure, Taurus moon. No, Gemini. But then when you really think about it, he's so quick to the way he communicates and the way he collects his words. Taurus is not that. Taurus, we stumble over our words. We don't have the right things that come to us at the right time. They are all about timing with the Gemini moons and the way they convey the message. And Barack Obama definitely has that. So
Mm.
and then there's a few other of my favorites, Kanye West.
You know I worked for him, right?
No. What did you
Many
do for
moons
him?
ago.
Huh?
Social media back in the day of MySpace.
Oh,
I
wow. How
never
was
met him
that?
because, yeah, luckily I was given the opportunity if I wanted to meet him, and my friend has had his social media before me, and she met him, and he didn't like her vibe, so he fired her. So she messages me when I got the account, and she was like, "Whatever you do, don't meet him because if he doesn't like you, you'll lose the account." And I was like, "I think I'm good."
Yeah, I'm
But it was like
chilling.
right when his like mom died, so he was like just going crazy. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel
I
like
ran Kanye West's MySpace.
I had no idea. I feel like him back in the day was very different than he is now. And I think that's like true Gemini fashion. Like I think a Gemini really loves to push the limit. Like they see how far they can go. And like obviously when you're coming out and you're first getting your big break or fame, whatever, you may like play it a little safe, maybe. I mean, he didn't play it that safe, but I mean, look at Donald Trump. He is also a Gemini. They just the words that spout out,
Yeah.
especially an unevolved Gemini, it's like word vomit, right? And so
Is he a Gemini sun or moon?
who? Donald Trump?
Trump.
He's a Gemini sun.
Oh.
I think he's a Leo moon.
Ooh.
He's something. I'm pretty sure he's a Leo moon.
Okay, that makes sense.
Doesn't follow politics, but knows everyone's birth charts. I'm pretty sure. Let's
That's
look at this.
crazy.
But yeah, so I just find that Geminis, certain ones are just so like communication. They're ruled by Mercury. Communication is like their everything and how they spit things off and how they come about. And they're also very true to who they are and as far as like what they think. And a lot of them, what they think is like like facts. There's no budging. And for a mutable sign, you would think they would be better at like being a little more lax. They are not.
No.
You have to be really evolved Gemini to be able to kind of see that and be like, oh, maybe there's a little Sagittarius in there that gives you like this bigger idea of thinking because they can be more open-minded in that sense. I'm just going to look at Donald Trump's birth chart really fast because I want to see that his moon is in Leo. I'm pretty sure it is.
That's funny that you said Gemini with Sagittarius. That's literally my partner's sun Sag and Gemini moon. And my favorite quality about him is his communication.
Yeah. No, they're great communicators. No, his moon is in Sagittarius. I knew it was fire.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, so when you have a Gemini sun and you have the complete opposition of your moon, being in Sagittarius, that's another whole nother recipe for disaster. But today we're not going over Donald Trump. I just wanted to touch on that he too is a Gemini, along with Kanye West. I mean, they're just two of the craziest people that when I think of like crazy, they're the two that come to my mind. And I'm like, oh, ironically, both Geminis.
That tracks.
Yeah.
We're in for a good episode today.
People are like, Donald Trump, tune out. What are we going to talk about? I promise. So if you're watching and you're a Gemini, I do feel, and I feel this about a lot of signs, Gemini masculine and feminine energies are very different. I do feel like Gemini feminine energy is a little more like vicious, but I kind of feel like they have it together a little more than the masculine Gemini energy. The masculine Gemini are just literally like free wanderers and just kind of flow. And I don't know, they're easier to deal with in the sense of like having a friendship with, but the longevity of that friendship is probably just forever interchanging. Like you see them a lot and then you don't. You see them a lot and then you don't. Do you have Gemini friends like that, or a lot of friends where you're just like, oh, we hung out for like 3 months and then like, they disappeared. I never saw them again.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a Gemini trait. And it is because there's two sides of them. So Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and then also it's signified as the twin. So there's the good twin, bad twin. I don't like to say good twin, bad twin. I think there's a very easy flow, easy going twin, and a twin that really just doesn't put up with your shit. And I think that I don't put up with your shit twin gets a lot of bad raps for a lot of things. And I mean that I don't give a shit twin really hurts people's feelings when they're mad, and they will dig for things that aren't just going to be like, oh, you suck. It's going to be like, really mean things. Really mean things just came to my mind, but I'm like, I can't say that. Anyways.
I changed us to spicy astrology so we can kind of say what we want.
Yeah, we were warned. But just really fucked up things. They'll really hit you where it hurts, especially if you hurt them. There's like, they don't like feeling emotions. Gemini is an air sign. Emotions are not their forte. And so if you really hit them deep, hit the emotions, they're coming at you with a vengeance, especially the feminine energy. Mm-hmm. I've seen some females go off on somebody when their feelings get hurt. I mean, my best friend was Gemini growing up, and I watched her go off on a lot of people.
I'm no longer friends with any female Geminis.
No?
I don't think so.
I was trying to think if there was anyone at the retreat that was a Gemini, but there wasn't. For some reason, I was thinking that Megan's friend was, but I think she was a Scorpio now that I'm saying that.
Yeah, I can't remember. But you have a really good memory.
Astrology memory. People are like, how do you remember my birthday? I'm like, I don't remember your first name, but I know that you're Sagittarius. Her name it wasn't Sam. Sam was a Capricorn. Camber.
Oh, yeah.
She was a Scorpio. I'm telling you, I will not remember. I couldn't tell. I would have never, if I wouldn't have had it on my little app, I would have never been like, oh, her name was Camber. And that still doesn't even ring a bell to me, to be honest. Now but I remember she was Sagittarius. She was loads of fun, very smart, classy girl. I just didn't remember her name. So, but yeah, so Gemini, twins, air sign, mutable meaning forever changing. There's a flow to them. They don't mind, an inconsistent routine. Typically, now I'm saying this, you could be a Gemini. You can have a lot of earth placements and be like, girl, I hate not being in my routine. And I do think as you evolve and as you get older, that routine energy shifts and it does become like more comfortable. And I think that's really with every sign. We kind of adapt unless you've been so strict. If you're like a Virgo and as you get older and you find yourself being less on that routine, I mean, that's a different kind of evolving. It's not like unevolving. You're evolving in a different way. Letting go of control would be that type of evolving. But I just think that as Geminis grow older, a routine isn't like the worst thing. A younger Gemini, I feel like they really hate a routine. They hate the idea of having a schedule every day. They want to be free. They want to have, excitement. Like they need careers that challenge them intellectually. They're very smart. They're ruled by Mercury. And a lot of times, if you're a Gemini sun, you most likely have a Gemini Mercury, which is how you think, how you act. And then your sun being a Gemini, it's just you thrive in intellectual conversations. Like if someone can stimulate your brain and really connects with you on an intellectual level, like you are just like so drawn. You can't like stop. You can't control it. Now, you could be a Gemini sun with a Taurus Mercury or a Cancer Mercury. And that's okay too. It just doesn't give you that real gift of gab, that way to spin off just like anything right out of nowhere. Like Geminis just have a gift to speak and know when to speak and know the right things to say at the right time. They just have this ability to channel that energy in a really incredible way. My boss is a Libra, but she has a Gemini moon and a Gemini rising. And I watch her sell her like brand to people and I'll watch her speak and I'm just like so amazed at how it just flows. Like me, I'm like, we need bullet points for this meeting. I need to read everything about it. I need to have details, details, details. And she and I work really great together because of that. But she just walks in with zero plans and can spout off. And I'm just like, anxiety, like, and I think that's amazing. I really admire that about her. And so it's just really cool to like see people with all these Gemini placements that are just so quick-witted, because if you've ever been in the presence of someone that's a Gemini and that has, all the right placements, they can sell like milk to a cow. Is that the expression? They sell milk to a cow? I don't know.
Not the
You know what
lady
I'm
for
saying? Like they just,
expressions.
yeah. Obviously neither am I, but they have this ability to communicate in a way that is just like always amazes me. And I'm always envious of it. And I work hard every day to be a better communicator, because sometimes I'm just like, I just don't have the words.
I feel that.
Libra Mercury is not as, we're not on it as quickly as the Mercury energy there. So, but Gemini suns, like I was saying, just fun, energetic, childlike. There's this very youthfulness to them. A lot of times I feel like Geminis, well, I'm going to say this. I feel like Geminis typically look younger depending on the lifestyle they chose, because I know a lot of them that choose a really rock star lifestyle, and that's great. They don't tend to look as young as the ones that maybe didn't go so hard in the younger years,
Makes
But
sense.
yeah, a lot of them look youthful. They just have a fun, light energy to them, very go with the flow. Jobs for them, I would definitely say anything about speaking, media, technology. I mean, it's really ruled, technology is ruled by Mercury, which is what rules Gemini. So those are really good, good jobs or careers that a Gemini sun, especially with Gemini Mercury and Sun, that combo is just dynamic to me. Gemini moons, I always am a little more hesitant about a Gemini moon, because your moon is your emotion of your chart. It's where you feel. And like I was saying earlier, Geminis are not so much feelers. They're not comfortable with the emotions of things unless they're really evolved, which would take time and a real understanding of themselves. Because in order to feel vulnerable and allow yourself to feel those emotions, I think there's just a lot of work that you'd have to do on yourself, because it's not a comfortable placement. A Gemini moon is not comfortable. A lot of times they can be very anxious. They can have this nervousness to them. I feel like one of my exes, when the earthquake happened in Utah, this was like 2020. It was like COVID hit, and then the universe was like, hey, you know what? Really, fuck you guys. Like, here's an earthquake. Thought the world.
We got a lot that. It was a rough week.
It all happened like bam, bam. I just remember, and I think that when you have an element, Gemini being an air element in the moon sector, and then when the ground below us shakes, I felt like there was and I noticed it with a few of my Gemini moon friends, and specifically with my ex, there was such the nervousness was almost like I could literally almost see this person vibrating because of the nervousness of their soul, like their moon, their emotions, their feelings. They were terrified. And if you think about it, air and earth, like they jive, but I mean, there was this really unsteadily energy, which I think enhanced the Gemini moon people, which I was going to say that was what, in April? Was it April 2020?
Yeah, because that was the same day that the apartment complex across the street from me was set on fire by some drug deal gone bad.
Jesus.
It was a wild day. I will never forget.
Hmm.
3
Yeah,
fire
see,
departments had to come.
I feel like that was Aries season. I can't remember if it was Taurus or Aries, but I feel like it was Aries.
I'll tell you exactly the day. Keep going.
Because there was so much energy, and I remember pulling the transits that day, and I remember like looking like, okay, well, is this the end? But everything was fine. We made it through. I feel like it was like April like 20th.
Yep. I will tell you right now. It was so the fire was April 16th. So
So the
it
earthquake
was.
was the 16th.
I think it was literally either that day or that week. It had to be. Yeah, it was that week.
And then COVID shut down, or COVID, like shut down everything.
Yeah.
It was like COVID shut down, and so no one was at the offices that next following Monday or something, and then we had the earthquake. And I was just like, thank
This was
God
the
no
fire.
one was at work. Wow, he really went ham on that, didn't he?
Yeah, that's what ATF was investigating.
Mm.
Good times in South Salt Lake.
It's a little more ghetto than we thought.
You know.
I'm here for that. But so yeah, I think Gemini moons, I think that's a more challenging placement, but it also can give them this intuition, like I was saying earlier about Barack Obama. I feel like there's an intuitive aspect, and I do feel like he's a very evolved Gemini moon, but this intuitive presence that just knows when to say the right things at the right time. Like it just kind of flows a little more than say like a Taurus moon or maybe even a Capricorn moon. I think Scorpio moons, they're not really flowers. They just observe. So it's not like that kind of energy at all. It does flow a little bit. There's like an intuitive emotional response to things, I think, that really draws you in with Gemini moons. Like they have this way of communicating and pulling you in a very I want to say intellectual way, but it also makes you feel really connected and like brings this emotional aspect to it as well, if that makes any sense. Yeah. I'm sober tonight, guys, so it's not last week with daddy issues. This is sober, sleepy Elle. Also, I miss Sydney and I wish she was here. She was. Is fun.
She watching?
I don't know. Maybe. She has a Gemini. I don't know if she has Gemini actually. No, I don't think she does, but she might. She may rewatch it later. She's got a lot of kids and a husband and all that. So, but it's only 7 there. So,
yeah, it's early.
Yeah. So, I'm not really going to touch on Gemini Mercury because I feel like I touched that with the sun, like those two together. You know, you could have a Taurus sun or a Cancer sun and have a Gemini Mercury, and that's only going to enhance your skills of speaking, the way that you think. Again, that flow, it gives you more of a flow. I feel like a Cancer sun with a Gemini Mercury would really be this passionate, emotional speaker. Like you think about Cancer, like they're loving and they're caring. I think someone with a Cancer sun and a Gemini Mercury could really pull you in on this like emotional like way that they speak. And then Taurus could probably pull you in a very practical way. If you're a Taurus sun and you have a Gemini Mercury, it's like practicality meets intellectually stimulating mambo jambo. Who knows what they're talking about? The Gemini, the fun Gemini Mercury energy with a serious, not that all Tauruses are serious, but there's more of a seriousness to a Taurus sun than definitely more seriousness than a Gemini. So it does flavor up your personality a little bit. And so that's kind of one of the cool things about astrology is that you can have so many different placements that change up your personality in so many different ways that it's just, I don't know, I find it very fascinating. So probably why I've studied it for like a million years. So next is going to be a Gemini Venus. Do you know anyone with a Gemini Venus?
I don't think so. I'm going through everyone here. I don't seem to have dated anyone with a Gemini Venus. She takes a sip of water.
I need to drink water for this. I mean, when you think of Gemini and you think of fun, free, lightheartedness, and you take the planet of love, A lot of times this can be someone that really enjoys having, multiple relationships, relationships that are not very serious. They may take a while to settle down long term. They may be someone that's like, it's just relationships aren't for me. Typically, marriage happens later. Again, depends on where all the placements are. So if you're out there and you're young and you have a Gemini Mercury or Gemini Venus and you're like, I want to be married. I'm not saying it's going to happen in your 40s, but, explore what you like, because this is a placement for a lot of exploring and finding yourself. And, Venus is just all about love and how you love and how you like to receive love. So, thinking of ways, I would say love languages for these people would probably be someone that either enjoys words of affirmation, because it's ruled by Mercury and words are everything. Also probably acts of service, because it is a very physical sign. It's a very like movement. I'm sure these people with Gemini Venuses appreciate when people do things for them, probably while they're saying really nice things about them. You're pretty. Here, let me change the oil in your car. Maybe that's just mine, Virgo Venus, but let's build a chicken coop together. That's more of an interactive Gemini Venus thing. I just want you to do things that I don't want to do or take there. But again, ruled by Mercury, it gives you that, like, there's a need for stimulation, intellectual stimulation, and just this desire to really tap into your brain and feed your soul through connecting conversations, wild ideas, thoughts that, that are out there. I don't know about you, but I've had the weirdest fucking conversations with Geminis.
Yes, that's why I like them.
Yes, like, what are we talking about right now? Like, sober, weird ass conversations.
And ping pong, like, do, 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 do.
Yeah. And you have to be able to keep up, because if you can't, if you're like still staring over here and they're over here, they sense that and they're like, please don't ever talk to me again. And that's fine too, because they are very short attention spans. But to have Gemini and Venus, this is someone you got to keep up with them. I would really truly recommend like an Aries Venus, a Sagittarius Venus even, because really maybe even more of a Sagittarius than an Aries, because Aries can tend to be a little more your mind energy, and that doesn't always work for Gemini, even though I do like the pairing of a Gemini and an Aries. But when you think in terms of Venus and how you love a Sagittarius, they're very independent, they're very free. Same with Aquarius. And Aquarius Venus with a Gemini Venus would be beautiful, just because they're both very independent. They can both do their own thing, but then they can come together at the end of the day and enjoy each other's company. Both they're both air signs. So it's like, okay, you can stimulate my brain and we can have these conversations. I would like to be a fly on the wall in this room, because I can only imagine, like, I'm just a Libra. So I don't get that wild in my conversations, but an Aquarius and a Gemini, it'd be cool to hear. I'm trying to think who I have that are Aquarius Gemini friends. I don't know. I just need to pair them together and sit and observe. I'm gonna do that. That might be one of our lives, because we're gonna jam through these 12 signs really fast, and the next thing is like pairing people of signs, see how they communicate. Fun. We're gonna do a test study.
I love it.
I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, I'm down.
So the next one is going to be Gemini Mars. My youngest daughter has this. I'm not sure how I feel about it. Right now it's 2. So it's like unhinged and wild, untamed and dramatic and all over the place. And so for a sign that's not very emotional, she's very unhinged. But she's also a Pisces Sun Cancer moon. So I got to take that in consideration. But the Gemini Mars is a really good placement to have if you think about it. Geminis are pretty reactive. They're pretty quick. When it comes to Mars, your planet that is in charge of getting things done, taking action, passion. These are people that are very passionate, and they have this strong will and this way of, taking action from like a I think of like a riot situation, like they're the ones on the podium yelling, we will not, whatever this riot is about, stand for this, like they're the ones up there speaking and driving that force with that energy because they have that passion and that they also have that capability to express and have like the words to really put the whole thing together in a sense. Like they're driven by the fact that they can express themselves in something like that big, if depending on whatever the movement is. Because I feel like there's a ton of them out there right now. Those people can really get the message across in a very clear way, so that it's very obvious what it is. Have you ever shown up to like a rally and like maybe you're just like ran in a random city? You being a flight attendant, this may happen, and you're like, yeah, and you're like, what are we protesting? Like, have you ever been at a protest and you don't really know what it is, and it's really kind of hard to decipher what like I was just watching a YouTube video today where the city in in Guatemala, the government was shutting down the water, and half the people were excited because they were like, we're getting new, fresh, clean water. And the other half were like, they're taking away our water from the mountains. And these people are like, there's disease. And these people are like, no. Anyways, I was really confused because I'm like, wait, what is this protest about? Like, that person did not have the correct communication and passion to drive that rally, because I was just watching and I was confused. And I feel like there was a lot of people there that was like confused as well. But have you ever been to something like that where you really don't know what's going on? You're just kind of like, who's
There's
in
been a
charge
lot
of
of things
orchestrating this?
I've been to that I don't know what's going on, but never like a protest or a rally normally. I try to stay that's already like big energy that
Mhm.
I just like can't. I just went to the mall today and that I had to like come home and like self-soothe. So I can't do protests.
People's energy on me.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe not a protest, but maybe like something you just kind of randomly popped into. Like, I just feel like if you think about it, I hate to use this as an example, but it's just like the first thing that comes to my mind. Like, if you show up to a Donald Trump rally, I feel like it's really quickly known what you're at.
Mhm.
There's t-shirts, there's flags,
Yeah.
there's people yelling. Who knows? I mean, I don't think there's really any confusion of like what kind of rally that is. And the
True.
person orchestrating that, I would guess, is probably somewhere at some Gemini relaying and conveying the message of what we're here for, because it's very clear, it's very like obvious. They have a really good way of conducting that. Whereas some things you're just like, are we fighting for peace or war? I don't know.
Yeah. It feels like America right now.
Yeah, America is so sad right now. Like, goodness.
It's a weird time to be American.
Yes, wild. So, the outer planets, because they're not so much in your personality, I guess, if you think of like Jupiter, so we're going to go into just like Jupiter. If you're Gemini, if you have Jupiter, Gemini, I would say, and again, this can be like 1,000 different placements in your chart, but you think of Jupiter as the planet of abundance and luck. And then you think of Gemini, which is, youthfulness, communication, technology. Maybe maybe you create an app and you become a billionaire, or I hate that I relate to a lot of things about money, because money is not everything, and that does not make you rich. Or maybe it's you create this commune on just communication, and everyone communicates, and it's this free and it's flowing. Jupiter kind of comes together for you in different, and Gemini third house, to kind of tie that together, that is community, especially like upbringing. Maybe you had a really good upbringing. You have Gemini Jupiter in the third house, causing your childhood neighborhood to be very clean, very flowy. You have great memories as a kid. And ultimately, when you have a good childhood, that stems through creating less therapy as an adult, right? I think it's
Let us
sometimes
know.
yeah, I know. I'm like, I don't know anyone, but I also think that trauma builds character. My daughter says that it makes you have a better sense of humor.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
so maybe there's that to that. But I mean, I do feel like somewhere out there, somebody had to have had a good childhood that also is a decent human. Because I have met people that I'm like, oh, you had a really easy childhood, but they lack character. trying to find someone that has character with an easy childhood. I'll let you know when I find that person.
Yeah, please.
If you're a good person and you had a good childhood, tune in. Let me know. Tell me, let's look at your birth chart because I would be
And do
interested.
you think you're a good person and other people also think you're a
Yeah.
good person?
I need references, at
Yeah.
least 3 that you've known more for than like 2 months.
Yeah.
We'll start there. Again,
Yeah.
another
I'm not your
thing.
therapist.
Yeah. She's a great person. I don't know. My therapist is a Gemini. One of them, I have 2 therapists. I love her. I think she's got like cool dope girl energy. Like she's just like chill. And I guess that's how therapists have to be. But she's not very soft. Like I have an Aquarius. So I did one of them's birth chart. I'm kind of nervous to ask the Gemini because I think she might be like, no, fuck off. But and no, but that's just like her energy. But yeah, my other one is an Aquarius. And I drive with both of them,
I love that.
because I have all the therapies that I need. I do therapy twice a week.
I'm proud of you.
It's different though. The EMDR and then talk therapy. I guess I should
Oh, yeah.
add that in there. So two separate things that I'm doing. I'm working on now problems and childhood problems together, hoping that they'll just like meet in the middle at some point. So yeah. But yeah, so that would be to rack that back in. A Gemini Jupiter. Those are some examples of that. Now, if you had a Gemini Saturn, you think of Saturn as, again, the daddy planet. This is like where we learn our lessons. Maybe it's the opposite. Maybe you had a really hard childhood, and maybe say Saturn is in Gemini in the 3rd house, and maybe your rising is a Virgo, and maybe your sun is a Pisces, and let's just throw like a really shitty one in there. Like your moon is I'm missing one. What is it? Sagittarius. So that's like the big square, right? That's the big one. Let's say they're all in the same orb. Let's say you have an ascendant, and I'm going to break this down, and I'll go a little slow so it's easy. And if you've been following us this long, you might get this. But so the squares are going to be the mutable signs. So if you have a Virgo, the ascendant, and your Saturn is in Gemini, let's say 3rd house, because that's possible. And then you have your sun in Pisces, and then your moon in Sagittarius. They all square each other. And they're all going to be very challenging aspects. Who you are and who your soul is this very very organized, controlled. You have to be in order, complete opposite of your sun, which is like total disorder. Like think of Pisces, they're all over the place. And then your ascendant is Virgo, that likes to be, in line. And then if you have this moon in Sagittarius that dreams of being free, but different than a Pisces, kind of free and nothing like a Virgo. And then you have Saturn in the 3rd house of Gemini, which just causes mad chaos for all of that. And I hope that makes sense. That might be a little too, maybe a little more advanced than what we normally talk about. So if you follow that, or if you need to write it out, or I can type it in the notes and you can go back and kind of just study that, it would be a very challenging aspect for your Gemini Saturn, and a lot of your childhood and who you are. There would be a lot of struggle around identifying who you are and trying to feel like you're in control of your life. You would always feel out of control as much as you try to control, on top of this need to want to be free. And we could throw, like, maybe say your Chiron is in the Sagittarius up top as well. Like and that could all stem from childhood. Like that's just how I would look at a chart. If I saw that, I would be like, oh, this person has a lot of issues. And this is a really hard square, and for all of them. So just a more advanced teaching there. Again, I will elaborate on that more if you want to study that, or if anyone wants to just kind of follow that trail. But so Saturn and Gemini can be very challenging, especially if you have some really hard aspects that square that cause, oppositions can be good. Like if you have the Sagittarius, the moon in Sagittarius, it can be not necessarily the worst, but it also can cause a lot of confusion on, how you feel emotionally, especially with Saturn being the complete opposite of that. And it's going to teach you how to get through that and how to, work through that, hopefully. Your Saturn return, I would love to see someone with, not really love, I would honestly probably want to counsel this person, but I feel like the Saturn return for this person would be a fucking nightmare. And if you're out there and I just gave like all your signs, then we should definitely, I'll do your chart for free. But you have to be a Pisces sun, a Virgo rising, a Sagittarius moon, and your Saturn has to be in Gemini, and they all have to be within 5 degrees. I will.
That's specific.
Yes, and if you haven't hit your Saturn return yet, please call me. I'll put my number in the notes. We need to talk. It's huge. Those things are big, right? Like, it's scary. I say that like, oh, we need to talk. But the thing is, like, at the end of it, what the Saturn return does is pushes you to your full potential. It's necessary. It's inevitable. It is everything that you need to go through to become your higher self. And if you don't go through it, if you're like, nah, I'm going to stay married to this person that I don't enjoy, or I'm going to stay at this job just because it feels safe, but you hate it and you hate all of that, maybe you should have a conversation with some of the people you've encountered. I definitely feel like you need to go through your Saturn return and you need to change that up. As scary as that is, if you don't, you're going to live in that forever. And then you're going to hit it at 58 and have a midlife crisis and buy a convertible and date someone 20 years younger than you. So it's not good there. Get your life together. Go through your Saturn return, go through the hard shit, accept it, find peace in it, love it, and come out on the other side so grateful that you went through it. The end. No, just kidding. So I'll just quickly go into like Neptune, Uranus. Anytime you have those in Gemini, Neptune is more illusion. You could be a naive, depending on things in your chart. A Gemini Neptune could have a naiveness to them to where they maybe don't, and maybe they don't really care to even like look too far into people. There's not a lot of like, let me look into the depths of your soul to see if you're telling the truth. They probably really don't care because they're probably lying about something anyways. Just saying. Just saying. Geminis are not the most honest. They can be.
Mm-hmm. To a fault.
Yeah. Wow. So where it's like they either are very dishonest or lacks tact of the truth.
Yes.
But and then if your Uranus is in Gemini, I mean, that can give you a pretty rebellious streak. Again, depending on other things, you have Taurus energy or, you know, Capricorn, Virgo energy. Maybe not even Capricorn, because Capricorns are pretty rebellious. More Virgo, Taurus energy. You probably don't stray too much from the law, but I mean, Gemini is pretty reckless. They can be, and you know, they're prone to. This is kind of that area of like Gemini's having that good twin, bad twin, or that, you know, tell you what the fuck is up twin versus the I'm sweet, kind twin. They have a lot of room for being diagnosed with certain things. A lot of times, like maybe depression, bipolar. When you think about bipolar, it's like two personalities. They're the twins. Schizophrenia is a big one with Geminis. A lot of Geminis are curious, and a lot of them are curious about substance. And when you have substance and the Mercury energy on top of, you know, already what their brains are just so, I feel like far advanced for this world sometimes, to where it causes some chaos. And then the substance thrown in there, it causes more chaos eventually. So that's just and I could go on about Uranus and the rebellion and all that in Gemini, but I think I'm close to time, so I should probably hit on the third house. But and then
Do you rising?
Oh yes, I always forget the rising, and that is like the most important sign. So Gemini risings are fun. They're fun people. They come off as fun. They have like this energy to them that are just like, "What's up? I'm here to party." They're really honest. To like, there's not a confusion of like, they're pretty like they're like that girl or that guy that's like, I'm an asshole and I don't care. Like, what's up? You know, like they have that honesty, that raw honesty that I can appreciate, because then I kind of know, like, oh, okay, well, and then they end up being really sweet or something, but not always. So Geminis are, I would say, a Gemini rising. They definitely are the life of the party. There's this youthfulness in their soul. How they feel is just like young. Again, they're just that gift of communicating, especially right when they meet people. You probably meet people and you can just talk to anyone. You're just like, oh yeah, I made friends at the supermarket. Like, some people get really annoyed about that. I tend to chat with people at the supermarket. I have a Sagittarius rising. Sorry, it's not everybody's thing, but yeah, I will chat people up. I'll be like, oh yeah, you da 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 da, and if they're a Gemini rising and I'm a Sagittarius rising, we can chit chat about probably very inappropriate things out of like nowhere. So I like a Gemini rising. The lady I work for, she's a Gemini rising, and it just vibes. It just, they say what they need to say, and they don't really like spend a lot of time with the extra bullshit. It's like, this is what I need. Got it? Got it? Cool. Okay, I'm out. She has a very low tolerance for people that linger. Her mind's going 1,000 miles. This
Oh
is like
yeah.
Gemini. She's a Gemini moon too. If someone's like, well, today we watch, she's like, no. She's like, fuck, I can't. She'll literally get up and be like, you're going to have to do this meeting because I'm going to kill this person. Got you, Gemini rising. I got you. But I know that. I know that about her. So, and that's a true Gemini rising trait. I mean, they are very quick. They're on the move. They've got things to do. Their mind's going 1,000 miles per hour. Again, especially if they have like Mercury in Gemini. Yeah. So a very dope placement to have if you have a Gemini rising. A lot of times they look younger. They have, I would say, great skin. I guess it depends, because Gemini's skins, I feel like, depending on what other things again, some of them have a really hard rock star lifestyle. If that was not you, then you probably have great skin. But yeah, so that's all of the inner planets and outer planets of Gemini. I'll touch on the third house. So as Julie and I were discussing earlier, the third house represents your childhood, like background, where you grew up, neighborhoods, kids that you played with. Did you have cousins that were friends? Are you close to your siblings? Because you have Saturn in the third house, right?
Oh yeah. Sure
So
do.
that can indicate Saturn is, again, the daddy planet, teaches us all the things. When you have Saturn, and your Saturn's in Scorpio, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just remember, I know we have the same Saturn. That's how I remember
Yeah.
that. So when I saw her chart, I initially was like, did you struggle with your relationships with your siblings? Because Saturn in the third house in Scorpio just had, and there were other things in her chart too that indicated that. I was just like, I could see it being a little bit of a struggle. And she was like, yeah. And so it could have been like, did you have a really hard time with your neighborhood growing up? Well, I mean, she literally moved all the time, so her neighborhood was
A
forever
van.
changing. And your third house ruler would be Libra
I
or Scorpio?
Libra.
Yeah.
Right. So one
So
going into it. Right.
yeah, so it's the start of it, whichever sign that's on. So yeah, when you have your third house ruled by Libra, that's not the worst thing, right? Because the Mercury is the third house ruler and Libra is ruled by Venus. So there's like this love there. So I would say that it wasn't like the most horrible thing, but it definitely, there was unease there. There was always such a flow, or an inconsistent flow. Like, it was inconsistent. Childhood was inconsistent, didn't flow. And having that in Scorpio, that hits us deep, because there's a part of us, especially you being like a Capricorn sun, there's a part of you that really needs that foundation and that stability that kind of just jives with who you are, that you didn't have. And so when you have that, it does create issues that you have to work through and really accept, and just really learn to work through, because the third house can indicate that, can indicate short travel, education as a kid. I mean, I can imagine, although you being a Capricorn, that you probably caught on quick, because Capricorns have that intellectual like intelligence. But if you didn't have your Capricorn sun, I mean, it would be very easy for someone with those placements to fall behind.
Mhm.
You're behind in school. And then you know, once you're behind in grade school, middle school, high school, that just like that trickles into like more issues, more insecurities, you know, problems. So you're fortunate that you have the Capricorn sun to be strong and to have that ability to learn and probably catch on to things quick.
Yeah,
Because
I was in a different school every year and then homeschool every other year. So it was a unique situation. But
yeah,
I was literally I had to sit in between my brother and my sister for my pretty much my whole childhood because they were always fighting. So I was the peacekeeper.
that
So
Libra
the
moon.
Libra. Oh yeah, I was like, fine.
Mhm. No, I could see that. So, um, anytime you have a lot of planets in your third house, depending on what they are, you should look at researching those planets, figuring out what those energies of those planets are. If you have a sun in the third house, let's say you have a Gemini sun in the third house, you probably had a really fun, light, easygoing childhood. You maybe got along with siblings, cousins were your best friends. Like, I don't know how many people have like had cousins as their best friends growing up, but it's like it's like a different kind of level of friendship because you grew up together and your family's crazy, but like they're your family, so it's okay because like you're not embarrassed by your family because like they're your family. Their parents are just as weird as yours, so it's like okay. There's like a different level of like fun and just friendship with cousins. So this is that kind of placement. Again, yours being the Saturn and that one, there's like a little difficulty there. But even your moon in the third house, there was probably some real connection emotionally with childhood people. A lot of times, depending on what's going on in your chart, you can find like it, you know, you meet people that like fall in love and marry their childhood sweetheart or their high school sweetheart. This can be an indicator of that. Somebody that has, especially in like a synastry chart, you're like, oh, you guys met when you were young. This is kind of where you would tell where they met. And if they met in the third house and that aligns, then you could definitely say, oh, you guys have known each other for a long time. Just a fun tidbit. But
That's cute.
um, more third house stuff. So the opposite of the third house, sorry, Salem. she just started yelling. I was like, what the hell? Opposite of the third house would be the ninth house. So ninth house is like higher education. When you think of like long-term travel, the third house is like younger, like elementary, middle school, and short-term travel. So you can also play with like the planets that you know are in there. Do you travel a lot? Do you travel often? Maybe you have your Mars in the third house in Sagittarius. Maybe Sagittarius is your third house ruler, and that would indicate that you travel a lot. And maybe you know it's for longer periods of time, or it could be shorter. I mean, that kind of depends on other placements, but probably for work, or even if you have, let's think of like a Mars Sagittarius in the third house, and maybe your sun is in Gemini in the 10th house, you know, because it could be in the 10th, it could be the ninth, just kind of depends. That would indicate a really fun traveling job, probably communications, probably public speaking. I mean, that's just an indication of like when you take Gemini 10th house career, and then you take like a Sagittarius Mars in the third, you know, it just gives it that like fun career travel technology, all the things. So did you have any questions on the third house or Gemini before we are done?
Venus in the third house.
Venus in the third house. I mean, that would be one that I would say you probably meet your love of your life in childhood days, or childhood days in your childhood, or you maybe meet the person that you really are in love with, or like the person you end up with resembles someone from your childhood, or reminds you of someone from your childhood, from your neighborhood. Um, or you could meet them in short travels. I mean, you'd have to look at like the whole chart to see like what that could indicate, but there's something to be said with how that person loves. Where they find it is going to most likely be grade school, short travels, community. And community, I say that lightly because that's like more of younger you community.
Mm.
um maybe through maybe through like an app. Maybe it's like somebody across the world. That's something that can indicate like, oh, and I would say across the world, that'd be more like ninth house. Just maybe someone that you meet over an app or through some sort of social media. Also, I did a little experiment on the third house because I was curious and I have nothing else to do with my time since I have 1,000 kids and a whole ass career and all the things. I wanted to see when each big social media platform was born and what the third house was in that time, right? And I say big, but I mean I'm really not that hip to what's cool. But I did Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. So Facebook, Gemini ascendant, which Gemini makes sense, right? We're literally communication, like those sort of platforms. I feel like thrive in that. The third house ruler was Cancer, which I'll explain quickly why I find that interesting. And then the sun was in Aquarius. So it was basically an Aquarius with a Gemini ascendant and a Cancer in the third house. And when you think about like Facebook, when I think of all the platforms, it's the one that's like the oldest to me. I feel like the older people are on Facebook. It attracts the older generation, right?
Yeah.
And Cancer is that. Cancer implements older generations. And not only, I know you welcome them all into your home, but that was the first one that's like, you bring this into your home. Everyone has Facebook. Everyone is allowing this device, this network to be in their home. And so that ruling that, and that was kind of the one that paved the way for MySpace was there. I shouldn't discredit MySpace. I should look at that one, but that one just didn't take off like Facebook. So yeah, so I did that.
On there.
I said, so that was interesting. But the next two I found very interesting because Instagram, like when you think of like Instagram and like, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? Like if you were to think of it as an overall, like what is Instagram?
Aesthetically pleasing, I would give it a Libra.
100%.
Am I right?
I'm gonna high five you right now. Yes.
Yay.
So it is a Libra sun, a Sagittarius ascendant.
Oh, okay.
Which is so, I mean, like the pictures and the likes.
Travel. I think that's what like travel pictures started.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, oh, okay, that makes 100% sense. And Leo is the ninth house ruler on that one. But the interesting thing here that I found interesting was Aquarius is the third house ruler, same as TikTok. So TikTok is also a Sagittarius rising and a Libra sun. And ironically, Aquarius rules the third house. And when you think of Aquarius, it's different. It's, it's got its own weird energy to it. It's a rebellion. It's it's got its own energy to it. So I still found it interesting that the Libra Sun Sagittarius rising for both TikTok and Instagram. I mean, it's all about showing who you are. And, I mean, I feel like this is more relatable to Instagram than TikTok. TikTok I feel like there's so much you can learn off TikTok. It's become super educational. But again, it's Leo is the ninth house ruler. But the MC is also in the ninth house on TikTok, not that Instagram is not as information packed. I don't feel like it educates you like TikTok does. So
yeah, that's true though.
But yeah, I was just like, I want to know how these platforms were created. When was it? What was happening? And so I just kind of went down the road. There's so much more. I could talk about it probably for another 2 hours, but I just found it very fascinating that, Instagram was not surprised that it was a Libra Sagittarius. And then the TikTok, I was like, oh, the same exact one. That is very interesting. And then Facebook, a little different, a little mix up, but
that is very interesting.
Yeah. So that's all I have for Gemini. If you guys have any questions, feel free. Leo in the third house, like a Leo rules your third house, or you have a sign or a planet in Leo in the third house. I'll have to see what that is, because depending on what's there. Oh, my Selena. I love her. I'm so happy you're here. Gemini rising, yes. And she is a guy, like she can spout off too. But man, don't get on her bad side. She's like a Sagittarius. Oh, her Gemini moon. I was about to say, I swear I think she's a Gemini rising too, though. Leo rising. That makes sense. So my friend Selena is Sagittarius, Gemini moon, Leo rising. She is fiery as fuck. Very fun. Like she does have like the words and flow, but if it's like early morning, don't talk to her because she's not having that before coffee. I like.
Relatable.
I met her. I low key thought she was a Capricorn. I was like, oh, we're gonna be besties. And then I found out she was a Sag, and I was like, you're kind of like not super. Oh yeah, Leo rules your third house. I'll go into that in 2 seconds. She wasn't super like uppity, but then I saw her in the afternoon. And she was just bebopping around, dancing. I was like, okay, there it is. She's just sleepy in the morning.
Just not, yeah, I relate to that. I understand why you thought she was a Capricorn.
I was like, oh, this girl's giving major Capricorn energy. I'm gonna make her be my friend. And then I was like, oh, you're Sagittarius. I love Sagittarius. I love you. So if Leo is your third house ruler, you have to take like Leo. So what is your sun sign in? Because Leo is ruled by the sun. I'll give you some connections here.
Well, she did tell us. She's an Aquarius sun,
Position.
and Gemini rising, Mercury and Capricorn, Scorpio moon, Carolyn.
Ooh.
I said
So
bless.
yeah. So Leo ruling your third house and your sun sign being an Aquarius. Leo, you will follow Leo, which is you'll follow to your sun. So you take third house communication with childhood friends. Like you probably loved having friends as a kid. As you've gotten older, though, that Aquarius sun, they can get burnout a little bit from all the friends, but there's also like this humanitarian part to them that where they want to like thrive in the community and give back to the community. So I could see with those placements, definitely someone that's involved in the community, maybe always has been. Friends are very important to them, very just humanitarian energy, honestly. And then especially Leo ruling, and that might stem from something that happened in your childhood to where you wanted to make the world a better place. Leo is proud. Leo is it's a fixed sign, so it's pretty consistent, especially if you have like feminine energy. I don't know if you're more masculine, feminine, but for the feminine energy, they're very like Leos are on their shit. And so when you think of like Leo ruling your third house, you're probably like the little gang leader in first grade, like bossing people around, just having, a big confidence in childhood and being like running around and telling, not necessarily telling what people to do. You knew that you had the cause for the greater good. Like you had this like plan. And I think you probably still have that as an adult, and it stems from something in your childhood that really drove you or inspired you or made you gave you this confidence to kind of run with that. So hopefully that makes sense.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, are you a humanitarian trying to do better for the world because of something that happened in your childhood? Basically is how I should have said that instead of like different avenues of like where to go. But that's what I would say for that. Without seeing everything else, that's just a vague answer, but that's my answer. That's what I would say. All right. Well, cool. Well, so Julie and I are going to do a little bit later. So it will be 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. Central Standard Time, we're going to be 9 to 10. Selena, you're on the East Coast, girl. So we're going to have to get you a drink. And be up a little later because I know you got this. But so yeah. Okay. I could see that. And I think that reason you have that humanitarian energy is most likely something that happened in your childhood that really drove you and built this like confident version of yourself. Something empowered you in your childhood community, I would say. But yeah, so we're doing what, the
25th will be at 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and we're covering Cancer in the 4th house.
Oh, this is my sister's. Wait, the 25th? No.
April 25th. right?
Yep.
That's what I have.
I was like, wait, that's my sister's birthday. My sister's birthday is next week. I'm so glad. If you're watching, I will have a present for you. And I did not forget your birthday until just now. Oh, Selena, having a glass of wine and a little puff. I love that for you. I literally was just thinking about you today and your girls, but that's a whole nother. I'll text you. All right, guys, we will see you on the 25th, 9 to 10 Central Standard Time, my time, because I'm now in Oklahoma. So thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it. Julie, as always.
Yes, same. Thank you. And I will see you in a month. It feels too long.
It feels great.
All right. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for everyone who joined and participated.